We're going to finish off with an exciting panel debate. So I'm going to bring to stage the participants in this debate. First of all, I want to introduce Aksel Lund Svindal. He's a former Norwegian alpine ski racer, famous for his two-time overall World Cup victories. He has 2 Olympic gold medals, one in Super G, and a legendary one for all Norwegians in downhill. He's also a 5-time world champion, experienced in building culture after competing at the highest levels for 15 years in sports. Aksel has been a seed investor for more than 5 years now and joined Airthings Board of Directors in 2019. Also joining the panel debate is Tellevik Dahl. She since 2020 led Norsk Eiendom, Norwegian real estate, which represents over 200 property players across Norway. She's previously also been a leader in academia and in politics. Together with those two speakers from earlier today, Eleftherios Zacharakis from the International Well Building Institute and Tommy Hagenes from Energy Control will take part in this debate about balancing health and energy in buildings and how companies can optimize their energy usage. And also coming back to the stage is Martin McGloin to lead the debate. So enjoy, everyone.
Ooh. Debate sounds very intense. This is meant to be a cozy fireside chat. And I think before we start, we need to take a selfie. It's a tradition here up here now.
The tradition is a 3D module. Not a selfie, it's a 3D module selfie.
Are you going to do a 3D selfie? I'm going to get the audience with us as well.
I'm going to top your selfie with a 3D. Are you up for it?
Yes! Okay, let's do a 3D selfie. So actually what we'll generate now, Tommy, is a 3D model of the space. This is also one of the tools that you use in Sundvolden Hotel. So you can come back and recreate this moment over and over and over again within the model afterwards, move around, see everyone's faces. Ready?
Finish.
Oh, you took it already?
Oh, sorry. But we have
one more. Take one more.
More. Okay. Sorry.
Need to get Martin from...
Yeah.
And this is actually showcasing what we did with Todd in all of the technical rooms. Sorry. Sorry. Okay, but the last one we can... We have to look like we are having fun. Okay.
I'll do my pose.
Okay.
You want to
sit on your lap?
Do I look there then, Tommy? Does that work?
So everybody pretend this is very fun and you're enjoying yourself. 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, wow.
Okay, it's done.
Are we done now?
No, there it's done.
Okay. So, not a panel discussion, but a way to summarize the day and also narrow in on the key topics we talked about, which was about energy and healthy buildings. But it's meant to be a fireside, so let's bring out these chairs, guys. We'll come a little bit closer. And also, you in the back, it's going to be cold. The fire's here. So come on, sit, cozy up. This is an evening in the cabin. Maybe an evening at Fireside Hotel. It's going to be nice and cozy. So come on up here. Oof, this is nice. This is cozy, guys. I'm very, very excited to be sitting with all of you. And I'm sorry that it's us between you guys and the real bar. So just bear with us now. And then we'll close the product bar and we'll start the cocktail bar. We've covered a lot of different topics today, and I'd like to start with Tone. I think we have an international audience here today that might not be familiar with Norsk Eiendom. We just made one translation, but maybe a good starting point is share the work and the important activities that Norsk Eiendom do for the property owners in Norway.
Well, it's an organization for all the real estate companies in Norway, but we also have real estate advisors like Tommy's company, who's a member as well. And we try to work for better regulations for the real estate kind of sector. We try to make our members doing good choices concerning ESG. A building is not just only a building for the people working or living in it, but also having a big impact on the surroundings. So we try to to make kind of best practice, different kind of pamphlets and so on. And we also try to enable our members to be a bit more innovative in the ESG.
And I think that's the key here today as well, right? And a lot of the topics we've been covering. We talked about various crises, and I talked to a few members in the audience here during their breaks, and I heard that you were coming. And quite a few of them pointed out that you're a very good communicator and write some very good articles in Norwegian media to really lift up the challenge that it is to be a property owner. And how are your members and the property owners in Norway now addressing our current crisis?
Well, they are very ready to try to improve the energy efficiency in the buildings, and many of them are already in good shape and having a lot to come. But we need to make this to a big scale and to reach the goals in 2030, which is only 7 years ahead. We need new politics, and we need also some economic incentives from the politicians. And we see now that Norwegian real estate companies are quite progressive compared with European real estate companies, from my point of view. But the politicians in EU are more progressive than the Norwegian, and that kind of bugs me a bit, since I wasn't a politician before. So the real estate companies, they want to. We have the knowledge. We have many different tech companies, prop tech companies, wanting to give the solutions of our problems. So we can do it, and we want to do it, and we can do it really, really fast. But if we're going to have more than only the biggest companies, we need help from the politicians.
And I think one of the themes that we've been discussing here today is addressing, ensuring we have healthy buildings and energy efficient buildings. And the solution is a lot within property technology and these new solutions. And one person that's really made his mark in Norway when it comes to investing and enabling these companies is Aksel. And you're an investment director in Norslab, one of the leading VCs that's really focusing now on ESG, and also an investor in several property technology companies. And when you invest in their companies and look at companies that Tone is talking about as part of the solution for companies, what do you look for? And particularly the companies that you get an extra shining for and you want to join their boards as well. What's important for you when you invest?
I think, since we're sitting here now and we all have this beautiful Airthings necklaces, I think that's...
you also have Norslab on your chest.
I do, but since when I connect the dots there, because I thought about that when we heard from Sophie, was her name, from Amazon? Yeah. That, what used to be the way that she could get data, which was really nothing. And back when I met Airthings for the first time, it wasn't Airthings. It was a different name, and it had a much more narrow offering. But what I did learn is the deep knowledge they had on the radon gas that educated me a lot. And it's really a parallel to what we see now, is that because with radon gas, I feel a lot of people don't want to know if they have it in their home, because then they think their home is worthless. But the fact is that it's deadly, and you can actually do something about it. So to not know about it just doesn't make any sense at all. And it's a little bit the same now with indoor air quality. If we have horrible air quality, there might be a fairly easy solution. And it's something we really need to do something about. It was a quote here about wearing someone else's clothes. I think it's more like using someone else's toothbrush, to be honest. Like it's a bit more intrusive than just putting on a jacket. That the solution to get regular data through the Corentium back then, that you could actually follow, because it does vary. Radon is not like a stable or stable gas. It's not the values aren't stable. They vary with. Right now they're building Fornebubanen, so a big subway project out to Fornebu, and I've had crazy radon levels when they're blasting and they just last for a short while in my basement, and then they're back normal again. But still, it just shows the difference. And what I learned about Airthings back then, on the 1.0 Airthings, was something that's really meaningful, and also something you realize this is something we need, but we just need to open our eyes for it. And then it was real knowledge. It wasn't just a marketing gig, but it was like, this is real value to offer. And I think that was why I wanted to be a part of it. And then also when you get to know the company, then since I came, I mean, I got a very good intro, but the intro had no academic knowledge whatsoever. So I mean, I have no school, I have no experience. And when you then meet smart people, and if I can contribute with something on the board, I can also learn a lot by being on the board. And so it's kind of a two-way thing where I think I can contribute, but I also do it a little bit for selfish reasons because I want to learn something about as well.
But I think a lot of the companies that you have, so we're lucky in Norway to have quite a lot of successful property technology companies that are ambitious and wanting to succeed internationally, and that kind of perspective and that ambition and that perspective, I think, is clear to the companies you work with that have succeeded. But before you went to that aspect, you talked about the radar monitoring and the value and importance of continuous monitoring. That brings us back to the beginning of the day. Do you remember that? We had Eleftherios on stage, and he was talking about the well building standard. And one of the key things that resonates me when it comes to well certification is this aspect of continuous monitoring. And as Aksel pointed out, when things change, the values within your building change. Traditionally, how we certify building is that you take a snapshot, you document at one point in time. And I think a few of us have been into a BREEAM building that should have been excellent. But when it goes into operating and drifting, the energy consumption is not exactly how it was certified in. Things change. So tell us a little bit about what's the role and why did well introduce and bring in this aspect of continuous monitoring in the well certification?
Exactly. Thank you very much for giving the opportunity. And as I mentioned before in my speaking session this morning, what differs from the rest of the perspective certification schemes is that actually you have a third-party verification to actually verify what you've promised, what your goals are, right? Like long-term, like the life cycle of the buildings, because buildings are used by people and well is for people. So by being a flexible system, introducing both on-site options, but also pushing to a more smart buildings future, we have introduced the well performance rating quite recently back in summer, where with many partners like Airthings, we try actually to ourselves support the industry to move forward to this more like smart building industry in order to be able, especially after the pandemic, know how to go back to their buildings and trust them.
And talking of smart buildings, potentially a smart guy, but definitely someone that works in many smart buildings is Tommy. What's been your key takeaway from today? Have you managed to learn something?
A lot. First of all, there has been a phenomenal people on stage today, and I think for me, it's been like the reddest thread ever, because everybody was contributing to different aspects of the journey. And I think the key takeaway for me is that we know that we need to measure buildings, see how they are used, and then start to do something about the energy. I think everybody in the room today has talked about occupancy. We are seeing that Fridays is the slow day in the office. We see that Sunday is a slow day in the hotel rooms, but we are still using the same amount of energy. So I think that the key takeaway for me is like the balance. This kind of balance that Joachim had on this presentation, with balancing between indoor air quality and energy. I think that will be the most important part. I think that in this room, there will be a lot of people changing how we build, maintain, and operate building.
And I think that there's probably one dimension missing in you, Aksel, because I think it's a great representation of what we're trying to achieve here today, is how do we maintain the building of a healthy, attractive, productive indoor space to the least amount of energy necessary to achieve that. But there's a third element. I'm wondering, I'm opening up to all the panel here now, is there also there's an ESG element. I think now when we're into an energy crisis, everyone's focusing on reducing our energy costs. But is there a synergy, or is there also a potential contradiction with achieving our ESG goals, our longer-term ESG goals, working towards these?
I can try, or Tone.
Tone?
Yeah, well, I always believe in synergies, if not I'm a bit more optimistic. I think this is a great opportunity, actually. Of course, 40% of the emissions comes from energy in buildings. So, of course, we have to do something about it, and we have to do, like you say, Tommy, we have to monitor it, we have to diversify, and so on. So everybody that can give property owners PropTech that can kind of monitor, and not only one temperature, because remember this, not many women in the audience, but women must have warmer offices than men. So 18 degrees, not working for me or any of my colleagues in my building, women. So if you can find a device that kind of, maybe not
You want to separate again, or what?
I don't know. I don't know. But maybe some smart people can find something out. I don't think it's very easy. But anyway, just remember that the diversity of the people in the working spaces also have different kind of health and bio. So think about giving us PropTech devices that can measure different important KPIs that can give us good indoor environment as well. Not only to just justify the Working Environment Act in Norway, because we have many regulations in Norway telling us about how much daylight you should have, what the air quality should be, and so on. Maybe not in the US, but in Norway it's quite regulated this already. So many of the things in the well system is already law regulated in Norway. That's maybe why well isn't that famous maybe yet. I don't know, but I think this is a great opportunity because we have to think about how we not how we use energy in the buildings, but also how we what do you call it in English?
Try French.
Yeah, French is actually better.
Yeah,
but how you kind of scale and make social zones and everything in the office buildings and so on. We are much more emphasizing on this kind of topics now. Of course, energy, but that's kind of a technical thing. But how do people...
Psychosocial aspect.
Yeah, the social aspect. How do we work together? How can we sit quiet here for some time? How is the kind of movements in the building? Do I actually meet some colleagues when I go from my working place to the cafeteria, or even if I go to the toilet, is it possible for me to meet other people? Because that is quite important for my health, I think, meeting people. I think everybody during COVID felt that. We need people.
I really like the twist that this question actually got. I totally agree. It's just more than like bringing balance between health and energy. As we believe at the International Building Institute, we design well to lead and balance both planetary and also human well-being. So it's not just about like compromising like your experience like to energy savings. It's actually about balancing, as you mentioned. I really like that, and also being inclusive. Inclusive in terms of social sustainability, including the needs of everyone. What, for example, we've seen from the pandemic, based on research like by Gartner, is that if you ask about the employees, how they feel about like going back to the office and like their preferences, we've seen something that they have in common. 70% have different opinions. So you can't actually have only one solution to just squeeze them in. You have to be inclusive and focus actually on ESG, all these aspects.
We've heard from various property owners today, and hotels has been a new focus area for you, Tommy. But do you know you're sitting next to a hotel owner?
That's where we're going next.
Yeah.
We are.
So Aksel, you've been through the process of developing and now also owning a hotel in Hemsedal, Fyri Hotel. And I think going through, there's certain things you have to do it to feel it. But going through that process and kind of getting, first-hand experience of what it takes to get the technical systems of a building to operate as you want, and particularly a hotel is very complex, as Tord will tell you here as well. What did that teach you about the opportunity and the challenges of property technology?
Well, first of all, I'm actually quite excited to meet Tommy and that he's going because I never met Tommy, but in every board meeting I've been to, if there's something crazy going on that looks super promising, it usually has Tommy's name on it. I'm very pleased to finally meet you.
Likewise.
For us, you're a little bit of a superhero, so thank you.
Like the crazy part of it, not the good part, but the crazy.
Well, crazy, like that's you have
crazy
to be,
good.
No, but if you think you have to be a little crazy if you think you're gonna make real impact, right? So I think the crazy part is a good part. And when it comes to, of course, so I had very little clue about a lot of the things that was going on, but I tried to sit in a lot of technical meetings to really understand the process. It was definitely so you remember you see these documentaries, or not even documentaries, but like shows on. They started with Discovery Channel, and now they're everywhere about all these people working in if they're going to build a house, or if they're going to rebuild a car, or if they're like out fishing in the Arctic oceans. It's super dramatic the whole time, and they barely they don't make their timelines, and they're about to die. And it's like, and you're watching it, you're just like, it must be acting. Like, how bad can it be? And then you're opening a hotel. And literally, it's people are. First of all, people showed up to check in the morning, which they couldn't because we'd said that it was like either 12 or 1 o'clock, so they had to wait outside. And as the doors open and they come in to check in, people are carrying building materials down the stairs out the backside. It's a complete mess. And one of the things that's the most, I would say, advanced thing to optimize and optimize. Now, actually, optimize is the wrong word. Just to make work. Is the HVAC, the ventilation. Like how, even it's a brand new building and someone designed it from scratch, you haven't built a new part of it or anything and just added on. It's been built from, it's thought about from the very first meeting. And still, as you're opening up, it's super hard to make it work. It's
in every building.
Exactly, that's what I learned. And then I started to think, maybe someone didn't do their job in developing, but there's probably someone here from that industry, and I'm sorry, but it just seems to me if we talk about artificial intelligence, and you don't need crazy machine learning probably to make that work. You just need the software that can kind of censor what a room feels like, and then you need to open and close some things. It's not super advanced, but it seems that industry has a little bit of a lag because there hasn't been a lot of focus on it. It's just, that's a statement, and it's only my statement, so I'm not trying to bring that on.
Many of our members as well have thought the same thoughts.
Because it didn't seem like the most advanced part of the hotel, but it's super important. And also for the guests, obviously you want them to come back.
Yeah.
But I have a much bigger worry, because now I learned, because we were listening to Sophie, and she said what the air quality was like in submarines, and she didn't answer really, but then you had some insight. And I learned that that's the worst air quality anywhere. So you have a bunch of people that already are super tense because there's conflict. They have their thumb on the red button to fire these missiles, and they're. What was the ppm?
25,000.
25,000. And there's no way they can think clearly.
It's kind of the same when people build your boiler rooms. There you also have 25,000 ppm, so that's why it's not working.
And they should put them in a submarine. Yes, no. So that's my biggest worry right now, actually, is these submarines that are floating or around.
So maybe in the same way, submarines don't have enough proper technology. But thinking about this challenge you've noticed with adoption of. We've both come from different industries. You're from a different industry. I'm from a different industry originally. Tommy's been here for a long time, but he's kind of started to see the light that there is a different way. Why do we? And the first time I went to and saw an ST-anlegg, like a BMS system, and we were actually together in the bottom of Clarion Hotel, which is a brand new. Sorry, I shouldn't probably say the name of another hotel, but okay, a brand new hotel here in Oslo. And the janitor, he was so excited.
Just to narrow it down to what Clarion was.
Which was brand new, brand open, and we got a tour of the janitor's operations center in the basement, and he was a bit proud and said, "Yeah, I got a new BMS system," and he wants to show us. And we're looking around and said, "It looks like something built in 1995. And you're proud of this?" And I said, "Oh yeah, but I can access on my phone." And then he's like tucking away and like opening up remote desktop. And then he has like a big desktop screen and he zooms in and say, wow, I can have phone access. You know, what's the struggle? Like Tone, Tommy, Aksel, like what's the hindrance for us to adapt? Why isn't it as easy to control a building as it is to swipe left on Tinder?
So I have a fun fact first. Okay. You know, like if you're building a brand new hotel and you're probably using Modbus, that's the protocol. Which year was Modbus made? 1977. So when did...
Wait, sorry. You did say this was... you said a fun fact.
Yeah. 1977. Wow. and when did we get internet?
93?
Yeah. And then when was it commercially used? Like Windows 95, that was the big stuff, right?
I think it came in 1995.
Yeah, 1995. It was the commercial use of internet. You have it before, but the commercial use. So this was like 22 years even before we were using PCs, and we're still using the same protocols. And that's actually why it's hard. I got the question earlier, why is it hard to control these kind of building? And I think we are trying to do that in our podcast as well. We're trying to say that it's prop and tech. It's two different worlds. So when we actually are using Airthings to control a building, we still need to have a box talking to a protocol from 1977. There isn't any security. If I ask who is there, every dumb sensor will answer, I'm here. Please read me. Please hack me. Yeah. So it's like, it's two completely different worlds.
But then, okay, but why... What's the reluctance to adopt newer, like we have MQTT? Okay, this is getting a bit geeky. Sorry, Tone.
But no one is like excited about the indoor air quality. That's the two of you. So you can get going.
Within Norsk Eiendom, though, like, what do you think is the hindrance? Like,
it is the competence, because the tech thing has been kind of strange. There are some other people doing that. We are building buildings, you know, with steel and concrete and everything. And of course, the digitalization is improving, but we have many steps to go. And I think if you don't have a good building owner or a project leader, you can actually ask for different prop tech thing. Can you give you the problem? Can you solve this? And have an open mind. So we try as an organization to tell our members, be open-minded. Focus on the problems that you want to solve. And that is climate, that is social interaction, whatever it is. And give the problems out there and try to be bold. Maybe someone will actually surprise you and give you what you need. But of course, sometimes it's hard to be the first mover, but we try to push and say, if you're the first mover, I will do my work and go to the politicians and say, you have to change the regulations so we can do this and that. But yeah, I think
we can be a bit optimistic, because you said something earlier about the politicians being fairly slow.
In Norway,
we do have a lot of private real estate companies that go forward, even if they're not required to.
No, because we actually ask.
No, but in that, there is, I think, something valuable here is that the people that actually know the most about the real estate, they move faster than the people who are supposed to protect our health, in a sense.
That's right.
So I mean, there is something positive there that we can hold on to, because they have the chance to do something tomorrow when you do own the building, right?
That's right.
And politics is never 2 + 2 = 4. It's always some other number that you can't really understand. And I think in that there's something very positive. They haven't been told to do so. No. They do so on their own initiative.
Yes, and we don't sit and wait for the politician. Don't think wrong what I said. We don't wait, but we need to scale up. But there's still a lot of money in real estate, and that gives us the possibility in Norway, I think, to be as progressive as I think the Norwegian real estate family is compared to European real estate companies.
But we're not necessarily getting medvind in Norwegian. Oh, I'm struggling with the English here now. Like tailwind from the politicians either. Like the latest article you wrote for Aftenposten focused on how maybe that the government isn't quite understanding the unique structure and nature of the property sector to be able to help them to adopt new technology and probably actually more hindering it?
Yeah, because they have a lot of focus on actually on the tenants. Of course, we need to hinder bankruptcy and people losing their jobs, of course, in different companies. But it is the building owner that have the capacity and the possibility to actually do something about the energy system in the building that actually will benefit the tenants, the bakery or the retail shop or whatever. But the politicians actually don't see the connections. So I try to tell them you have to put the incentives towards the building owners. They can do it, and with a good help from the the PropTech business, we can actually move very, very fast. It takes 10 years to build one windmill outside my home place in Western Norway. It takes 2 or 3 years actually to save 16 terawatt hours in the Norwegian building, the company office buildings in Norway, if we get kind of a bit of a help.
So I recommend reading the kronikk, another word I can't translate in standing foot now, but for those of you that speak Norwegian, this is a great motivation to read it. That was in Aftenposten a few days ago. And if you don't speak Norwegian, definitely a motivation to learn Norwegian to read Tone's article. Because what you point out is that the governmental support for property owners in Norway now, they don't understand this fragmentation, which I also think is a challenge with property technology adoption, is that we have an owner, a developer, and a tenant, and their interests are not necessarily always aligned in who invests, who operates, and who gets the value of property technology. In the same way, the government is not necessarily seeing this when how do they provide support for us to adopt technology to save energy. But let's be positive at the end, because the bar is opening. I'm hearing the cocktail shaker. I'm going to go and have my whiskey. So we're in the Nordics. Even though you're Greek, you've also been based in Sweden for many years. We have some great examples of Norwegians here with us as well. What can the Nordic property sector teach the rest of the world? Do we have something we can be particularly proud of? Do we have something different that actually can set an example internationally as well? Something that we can be proud of?
Definitely. From my experience working in the Nordics with the Scandinavian countries of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland, what we've actually seen compared to the rest of the world, and especially the continental Europe, we've seen like 3 aspects that the Scandinavian countries actually have something to teach the others. So the first one is that the way that the Scandinavian countries have been promoting urbanization. We all know that in the following years, most of the people are actually going to be living in cities. In the Nordics, it has been like a bit late compared to other European cities, big cities and so on. But due to the pure nature and environment of Scandinavia, the way that the business are being done and the way that the state helps with startups and innovations, having actually the Nordic countries ranking on the top 10 every year when it comes to the global innovation index, is something that we see it help each other. So urbanization, like real estate sector, is still continue thriving. The startups, like in the tech sector, is growing and has good incentives by the state, and also the pure nature from the Scandinavians and the local green building councils that work with sustainability create this forum to foster collaboration. I think that's very important to teach and reach out this message to the rest of the world. I know the Scandinavians are a bit modest and they don't really like to talk about this, but that's something that I believe the rest of the world can actually really, really learn, collaboration.
And Tommy, I know that we get so frustrated at the adoption of the digitalization and property technology in Norway is so slow, but we're actually leading.
Yeah, I think Norway is in second place in most succeeding PropTech companies, and Sweden is just before. So Nordic countries are doing it good. We will win. But the other thing is, if you look historically back, we had very low energy prices, and also if we can produce products in Norway, and we can actually make that a cost, you will take the cost for it. If we can make it here, we can make it anywhere. And I think that's like one of the best things when we make something in Norway. We see that it scales out there. So if you look at the negative side of it, in the Nordic countries we are very digital. Like we have Elhub, which is a place where you can collect all the energy data of every building. We have Nord Pool with the power prices. We have Meteorological Institute for outside air temperature. There is so much open data. So it's so easy for startup companies to actually produce an app on top of it. Like for Airthings, to get all of the outdoor data in is just like a software thing. So we are a bit lucky in Norway to be so digitalized. I think that's one problem that we are seeing when people go from Norway outside. You are missing some of those adventures that you're thinking like, oh, so people don't even have bank-ID, like the digitalization of having a legitimering.
ID.
ID.
Oh.
I like how everyone looks to Aksel when we need a translation.
He's my expert now.
Do you have anything else we can be from technology or property side in Norway that we can be proud of? Do we have the winner instinct?
I mean, I think we're not afraid to take some risk. And if you're going to be a first mover, you have to take some risk. So I think that's a good start. But I do agree on the. But I see it as a positive. Like you said it as a challenge that there's less access to data. But if you look on the flip side, it's also a reason why we can be a first mover, right? So you can do things that in other countries are very hard because they don't have the data. And I mean, I think that's just something that we should. I mean, we're lucky to live here in many ways, and then I think we can afford to take some risk, and we can be first mover. And even if something fails, then we kind of, we're in that position where we can always try again. So I think we should use that to our advantage.
So we have a head start, kind of.
I think we have a head start, but also I think we also have to acknowledge that we're lucky to live in a country where most things are taken care of. So then you also, you can add some risk to that and maybe go down a path that's not 100% safe, but if you do succeed, there is benefit in it for more than just yourself, but for more people.
Finally, Tone, do you have any reflections on this?
No, I totally agree with the rest of the panel. And I think we are in a very good position to reach the quite ambitious goals for 2030 and even 2050 concerning, of course, the green gas, but also the rest of the syllabus, the ES.
So you're optimistic on
I think
Norwegian
we can do it,
yep.
and if everybody uses the possibilities in real estate to kind of achieve these goals, we can actually achieve the UN goals as well.
Very good. Let's leave it at that positive, hopeful note. The bar is opening. Thank you very much to the panel. Thank you very much for joining us here in Centralen today. Thanks.